Spider-Man 4 has the potential to be one of the greatest Spider-Man movies of all time. Tom Holland's Peter Parker has by far had the most screen time out of any version of the character so far, and with that amount of depth, it gives them an opportunity to kickstart his life in the big city with an excellent new story that could potentially have huge implications for the future of the MCU. But there's one problem, and that problem is Sony. So let's talk about it. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Jones Vibes. Hit the like button if you have some dirt in your eye, and let's dive in. So some pretty interesting news has come out in the Spideyverse lately, and it has me very, very curious about what's going to happen with Spider-Man 4. And so today, I just want to talk about some stuff that I've heard, as well as some stuff that I've read that has piqued my interest. The first little bit isn't directly tied in, but you'll see where I'm going with this. So, ComingSoon.net reported this. They said, according to semi-reliable scooper Daniel RPK, Sony is currently developing a Sinister Six film in the mold of an Avengers crossover event, which will feature characters from the Sony Spider-Man universe SSU joining up with one another. However, Sony has yet to confirm this rumor as of this publishing. So guys, let's talk about Sony for a minute. And I want to preface with the fact that obviously this is just my opinion, and this is just based off the stuff that I've read and heard over the years, and also just kind of my overall opinion about Sony and how they've handled the Spider-Man franchise. But Sony has a stranglehold on the rights to Spider-Man, right? They paid $10 million or so back in the late 90s and have kind of been running the show ever since. And now, obviously, there have been some massive successes. Before the MCU, the Tobey Maguire trilogy was huge. But moving past that, I'm more so talking about recent live-action Sony here. When you watch Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, do they start with a Sony logo? Yes. But are they Sony movies? No. And the animation side of things completely aside, because those movies are amazing, but the live action side of things has just been a struggle. I'm just gonna flat out say it. The movies have not been good. To me, you can say what you want about those Venom movies. Maybe you really like those, and props to you, more power to you if you enjoy those movies. But I sat and watched Venom 1 and Venom 2, and I just kind of eye-rolled through the whole thing. Like, it's enjoyable enough, but when you're comparing it to the MCU, it's really tough. And then there's Morbius, and now Craven, and Madam Web, and I'm sorry, but I'm really not looking forward to those movies because it feels like more of the same. And that's what I'm afraid of with this Sinister Six thing. We're now in a post No Way Home era, and it seems like Sony is really trying to take things back into their own things, or at least merge their universe. I think that the deal made in 2019 still means that Tom Holland has 3 more movies with the MCU, but Sony does have a lot of control. And I'm by no means an insider or anything, but I feel like I speak for everyone when I say that we don't want to see Tom Holland Spider-Man versus Morbius. But a huge piece of news also just came out pretty much just in time as I was getting worried about this from Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland. I read this and I had to talk about it. Collider said that Tom Holland says he will only return as Spider-Man if it's worth the while of the character. He also said, we have been actively engaging in talks about what it could potentially look like for a 4th rendition of my character. And this is why I'm clinging on to hope, my friends. Tom cares about his character a lot, and if he doesn't come back, it kills everything for Sony. And then what? They would have to reboot and go back to doing their own thing, and I doubt they want to do that. If they want to stay with Holland and have movies as giant as No Way Home again, they're gonna have to re-up this deal. And just looking into all of this, I'm pretty confident that that's gonna be the case. It's easy to see that the people in charge of the live-action Spider-Verse at Sony are pretty out of touch. And look, I'm saying this without even seeing Kraven the Hunter or Madam Web. We might see those 2 movies and they might blow our socks off and we'll be like, wait a minute, we gotta merge these universes except for Morbius. But I highly doubt that, and I feel like if we're gonna get to the magic of Spider-Man 4, it's gonna have to be through the MCU. But hypothetically, let's assume that's the case, and that there's no interference studio-wise. What would you guys like to see happen? Where would you like to see Peter go from here? You probably saw in the thumbnail I put When Worlds Collide as kind of like my working title, because that's sort of what I'm feeling. We already got the big No Way Home multiversal story, and although this next movie will be smack dab in the middle of probably phase 6 at this point, I'm personally hoping for a grounded feeling movie that does have multiversal moments that tie into the bigger picture. Obviously, we have that little bit of Venom being left in the MCU in that post-credit scene, and so I think that this would give things an opportunity to tell an even darker Spider-Man story. He has hope at the end of No Way Home. We see him swinging through the city, but what does losing everybody do to a person? He's completely alone right now in a new atmosphere, and then you add Venom into that mix. Six. Maybe you bring back Matt Murdock and tie in the street level stuff with Kingpin and kind of see how Peter overcomes. You know, he doesn't have Tony anymore. He doesn't have May or MJ even for now. I think that the smartest thing that this movie can do is heavily invest in New York City. Create a new atmosphere for him that we can get used to, and also maybe you bring in Gwen Stacy. Could we see a Harry Osborn? Or maybe even some other Spider-Man villains, like Black Cat could be cool. Hydro Man, maybe, also not joking, but Mephisto? Like, Mephisto could actually work if you tie in all that magic with the MCU and stuff. I don't know, I'm just saying. There's a lot to think about, and I think the main emphasis right now, or the main concern maybe, if you want to say that, is just looking at how these studios handle this film and how much Sony is involved and kind of how their other movies turn out in this franchise. Because, like I said earlier, the animation side of things is doing just fine, and if they were to ever like merge that universe with the MCU, hell yeah, that's awesome. But just something about the live action side of things just hasn't felt right lately. So yeah, guys, that's just a little bit about Spider-Man 4. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'll absolutely be reporting any and all details that we get about it here on the channel. So make sure to subscribe if you're new here. I'd also really love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Am I wrong about some of the Sony stuff? Maybe you love the Venom movies, or maybe you love Morbius. I promise I'm not going to judge you if you do. Feel free to leave your honest opinions down in the comments and start that conversation. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I appreciate that support more than you guys know. You can follow me on X at JonesVibesOnly, and don't forget to keep up the good vibes, guys. But is Spider-Man 4 trending in the right direction? We'll see.
Jones Vibes.